Hello there folks, my name is Spoonks and I saw Dogman and I really liked it. Now I was interested in this movie. I was a big fan of the Captain Underpants movie DreamWorks did, and when I heard that they were going to be adapting another one of Dave Pilkey's books into an animated feature, I was really thrilled, seeing as how excellent the last movie was. And the movie looked really promising. It looked really funny. I loved the animation, and given the good graces from the last movie they adapted from Dave Pilkey's works, I was really looking forward to it. And while it's not as good as Captain Underpants in my opinion, this movie is still a very entertaining, fun, silly little kids movie. Let's get the obvious out of the way. The animation is excellent. It is going for a much more stylized approach, even more stylized than Captain Underpants, and I'm absolutely loving it. Dave Pilkey originally intended for this to be a stop motion animated film, and you can definitely see the influences with like the frame weight and certainly how the characters are designed and move around here, and it looks really solid, very colorful. I love the simplistic designs, and it really makes great use of certain action sequences with the sporadic, chaotic, and frantic tone. They're all very fun, fast-paced, and really enjoyable to watch. Again, I love the designs, I love the look of the film. I think the animators really did a great job adapting Pilkey's work onto the big screen. This movie is also hilarious. From the beginning of the film, I was definitely worried about the comedy. It just wasn't working for me at first, hit or miss, really. But once we get into the real conflict of the film, the jokes were hitting, and they were hitting fast. I was laughing out loud and consistently throughout the film. Yes, a lot of them are juvenile and certainly aimed at a younger audience, but I couldn't help myself. These jokes really worked for me. They were well timed, well written, and played to the film's childish tone in great success, if you know what I mean. A lot of the jokes were really random and silly and stupid and just downright odd, but they made it work with the world, and it never felt annoying or jarring or anything. The comedy really lands here, but what also really surprised me was how sentimental and emotional the movie was. There's a lot more focus on Pete Davidson's character, Petey the cat, and his storyline was actually a lot more emotional and heartfelt than I was expecting it. It talks about issues of, being a father and defining yourself, really, and his banter and relationship with his clone, Lil Petey, was also really funny and emotional, and surprisingly, Pete Davidson was the standout performance in this movie for me. Everyone else did a really good job, but he really sold it on the comedy. He really leaned into the wacky and the silliness here, and even the emotional and sincere, where I could say it's his best performance. I can't believe he gave his all to Dogman of all things, but he really surprised me here. I really liked his performance here. He should do more voice acting. But unfortunately, I do have some issues with this film. First off, I think the movie is a bit of a mess structurally. There's a lot of plot, and I think this movie can't handle the number of characters it has. We cut back to certain plots and scenarios very sporadically. Sometimes there would be sequences where we would cut away from, and then it would immediately cut back to the same sequence, where I felt like, okay, we didn't need to cut back and forth like this. This could have just been told very linear, and certain characters feel a bit underutilized and sidelined here. They're not hateable or anything, but I feel like they could have done a bit better with some of these characters. And even Dogman himself, he feels kind of like a secondary character, because more of the focus is given to Petey the cat, and again, he feels kind of like a secondary character in his own movie, not to the extent like a Tom and Jerry scenario, but there are points where like, okay, this movie's about Dogman, we should be focusing on him, right? I also think the first maybe 15 maybe 20 minutes of the film is definitely the weakest part. It was definitely trying to force the tone and silly hyperactive nature down the audience, I think, during this part. So I felt like maybe making it a bit more natural, as the film was able to do after these 20 minutes, once we get into like the nitty gritty, once we establish what happened to this guy and this dog, I think would have sufficed. But yeah, those first couple minutes were a bit rough. The comedy wasn't landing really, and it felt like this might be a rough one. But overall, I was pretty satisfied with Dogman. Yeah, not much really to say here. It did everything it needed to and knew exactly what it was. A silly, goofy, stupid but still very enjoyable, fun little kids movie. It's got gorgeously stylized animation, really likable characters, and some really funny creative jokes. If you're in the mood for something really silly, wacky, in the vein of something like the first Captain Underpants or even some of the older Nicktoons, you know, I'd say definitely go for it. This will definitely be right up your alley. I don't think this is a must watch, and once again, Captain Underpants was better in my eyes, but this was still a really funny, really solid, silly little kids movie, and I think a lot of people are gonna really dig this, especially the kids who are big fans of the book. I think they're gonna really like it. It's gonna be right up their alley. As for parents, I think they will still find something to enjoy here as well. I thought it was pretty good. So those were my thoughts on Dog Man. What did you all think of it? If you've seen it, did you like it? Did you hate it? Comment down below and let me know. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you like this channel, hit the subscribe button. Follow me on all the social media links at the end of the video. And until next time, everyone, stay sharp.
I gotta be a boy.
It's over, just be a rover.
Gotta be a boy.
His teacher's pet thinks that he's a boy. He's a regular whiz kid.
Yeah, but
Hey, that's how it is, kid.
now that summer's here, you'd be a dog like any other.
Well, haven't you always wanted a brother?